Hi guys, thanks so much for stopping by. So today I will be doing a fertilizer review, and this is by Dr. Earth Fruit Tree Fertilizer, and this is in 24 fluid ounces. It says it's organic, 100% natural handcraft blend, contains aloe vera and yucca extract, pro moisture hydrate. Sorry about that. And the NPK ratio is 5:4:2. So I have been using this for my lemon tree, my indoor lemon tree. If you have been watching my channel and my plant vlogs, I have my Meyer lemon tree, and this is what I have been using on it. I have recently switched from this to something else, and I will explain why. So this, I actually, because I only have one indoor lemon tree, I do not follow the directions for mixing. It says use 4 tablespoons per gallon of water. I did that, and what happens if you don't really use this in 2 to 3 days, it starts to mold and rot because it is very organic. There are no preservatives to it. So I would suggest if you do only have like one plant that you want to fertilize with this, I would suggest just using 1 cup. 1 cup is 3/4 teaspoon. Again, if you are only using 1 cup of water, you mix 3/4 teaspoon. If you want to do 2 cups, it's 1.5 teaspoon of this. This is concentrated, so do watch out for that. I've never over fertilized my tree, so I can't really tell you, but I feel like it is very forgiving in a sense, because for the longest time, every time I would water my lemon tree, I would always fertilize it. And this fertilizer is very, very rich. When you just look into the topsoil of my lemon tree, it looks like fudge. It is so thick. I did aerate it, obviously, but when you just look at it, it's like, oh my gosh. And I do think this is responsible for that. It's so rich that when I had it, there was nothing, and then I started feeding it this, and oh my gosh, it was bud after bud after bloom, and flowers lasting for months. So I really do attribute it to this. The only thing I was giving it was supplement, and that will be linked down below. But those were the only 2 things that I was giving it with water, and initially it was just the fertilizer. I didn't even give it the supplement yet, and then I thought to just do the supplement to encourage more growth on my tree, because I want my tree to be taller, thicker, plumper, more leaves, more branches, more growth, more. That was all I want. And I don't really see a big difference yet, but I think it was because it was producing so many buds and flowers, and that does drain the plant. So I had to stop giving it this because I want it to just thicken up, grow taller, grow thicker, grow more leaves. That is just my objective more. I'm trying not to want it to bud and flower, and when it was starting to grow fruit, I would just pluck the flowers out. And I also kind of noticed after a while that it was months into it that the flowers started to kind of burn in where it was attached to the branches, in a sense. So I think it was because of this. What I would recommend is, if you are going to use this, I would recommend, if you want to utilize it as much as possible, you can do every other watering is with this, or you can also give this maybe 1 every 2 weeks, or every 3 times you water, or every 4 times you water. Like, you don't have to give it every time, because it's very, very rich, and it really does linger in your dirt. So I transitioned mine by just providing it supplements and vitamins, no fertilizer. And that is still ongoing experiment right now. And you guys are gonna see my update on my Meyer lemon tree, so you guys can check that out. For this one, so from my personal experience, I would suggest you can try to do every other watering, and you could do every third watering you feed it with that. And if you do want to always have something with your water, I would suggest supplementing. And my supplements are down below if you want to check that out. So even though I was feeding this every single time I was watering, and when you do have a citrus tree or citrus plant, it's a very thirsty plant. It wants water all the time because it's used to humidity. It's used to tropical climate and things like that. And when you're growing it indoors, where in my home, it is centralized, it's always going to have some kind of dryness to it. So of course I'm going to have to water it. So I would, from now on, when I'm comfortable in reusing this again, I would probably try to do every 2 or every 3 or every 4th time that I do water is when I would feed it with this fertilizer, just because it's very rich, and I really don't think that you need to keep doing it every time. I feel like it's good to just do it like once every 2, 3, or 4 times. Like your second water, like if you watered it once with this, second time you water, you don't use this, and then the third time you water, you use that, and so on and so forth, or every 3rd or every 4th. It's up to you. I would try the every 4th time you water or every 5th time you water. And if you feel like you think like you can get away with it, or just try to get away with it, you can make it every 3rd, and then you can back off really quickly if you see any kind of negative side effects right away. That's what I would try to do. Again, for right now, I'm not feeding my plant or this right now. I feel like it needs to be just 0 fertilizer, needs to be flushed out of that, because like the soil is super rich. So aside from that, it's very forgiving, so that's a good thing. And it did give me a lot of flowers, which I think only a handful really tried to transition into a fruit. And then afterwards, I feel like I was providing it too much of the fertilizer. I feel like I think it pretty much terminated before it reached to that phase due to that. So I would really suggest start with like every 4 or even every 5 waterings you add this, not every time you water, and just see how it is from there. There were people that were reaching out to me when they saw my lemon tree, and like there were so many blooms for such a baby plant, for such a small plant, because my tree is very skinny right now. It's very young. It's about 2 feet. It's not very tall. It's not very bushy, and it produced so many flowers. Just so you know, and just so you remember this, please. When you have a flowering plant or a fruit-bearing plant or an edible plant, when they start to produce flowers, it does drain the plant itself a lot, because it is concentrating and producing more flowers. So when you do have these kind of plants and you've noticed that you don't get enough blooms, you don't get, if maybe you get 1 flower or things like that, you need to pick up a specific fertilizer and a bloom booster for that, specifically for that plant. Because your plant really does need extra strength and energy to help produce those more for you, as well as making sure that the plant itself isn't completely just totally drained. And it's even more draining when it will transition from flower to fruit. So just really put that into consideration, because there's a lot of people that I talk to in my life and online, and I get the same questions over and over and over again. And it's just, you have to consider, when a plant is just fully foliage, all it's concentrating is growing taller, more leaves, that's it. When you add flowers in the mix, the energy that they use to produce flowers is a lot. It takes a lot for a plant to do that. If you're doing it indoors, it's even harder, because they're not really getting enough of they're not really getting what their internal system is expecting to get. And that's why it's very important to feed a certain fertilizer or supplement your plants. If you don't want to go fertilizer route, there's supplements that can assist them in keeping them as healthy as possible. And again, when you have a fruit-bearing plant, they usually come from a flower, become a fruit. It's even more. So just be aware of that. What I would suggest is, if you have any questions for me, a specific plant, I would love to do the research and help you out and have a conversation with that. I do that all the time in my personal life as well as online. So if I don't know, I will tell you I don't know. And I will give you all that information if you want it. If you want to talk about just plants or this particular product, let me know down below. I would love to chit chat with you guys about that. If you have any other questions, comments, suggestions, possibly I didn't really cover in this video, let me know down below as well. I hope you enjoyed my video, that you will give me the thumbs up, and of course subscribe if you haven't yet, and hit the bell so you're notified every single time I do upload a new video. Thanks guys, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.